right. Welcome to this episode of the Joyful Scaling Podcast. Search engine optimization. It's a powerfully effective tool to grow your reach, your visibility, and your revenue, and do it organically. But the question is, are you using it effectively, if at all? Today, I'm chatting with an SEO master. She doesn't call herself that. I do. She's amazing. Okay. She will be sharing SEO strategies and revealing some important how-tos to make sure your efforts are being fully optimized. This is a note taker episode, ladies. So go grab that paper and pen and let's go. Let me introduce you to Julia Bocchese. She is an SEO and Pinterest consultant for creative small businesses at her firm, Julia Renee Consulting. And recently, this is so exciting, she became the very first SEO professor at Drexel University. That is quite an impressive feat. Now, in her work, Julia's goal is to make SEO and Pinterest strategies approachable and easy to implement, so you can reach your ideal clients organically, as in no paid ads. We love that. She's a Philly girl like me. Let's welcome Julia to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, Julia, you're so welcome. So can we just have a brief kind of backstory on how you came to be this SEO expert?
Yeah, so it's kind of one of those winding, bumpy entrepreneur journeys. But I started a travel blog actually about, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. So I learned a lot of marketing and SEO, Pinterest, everything for my blog. And then I wanted to quit my job to become a freelancer about 4.5 years ago now. I have no corporate experience with SEO at all. It was completely self-taught. And when I became a freelancer, I was doing actually a lot of content writing for websites because journalism is my main background. And I realized that I was optimizing all of this content for the businesses because that's what I'd learned how to do for my own site. And I realized that they had no idea what that meant or like why they were suddenly ranking higher in Google or, what was going on. So that's when I kind of pivoted to focus completely on SEO. And I was doing some other marketing at the time, but I dropped Facebook and Instagram because I did not want to deal with the algorithm changes all the time. So I focused on Pinterest as my only, quote, social media platform, but it's really actually a search engine as well, which is why I kind of do both of those.
Wow, that is so good. That is so good. I just mentioned today in my Thriver Thursday Live that I was a self-taught interior decorator, and that was my first business, and I just love it. So I'm a firm believer that you do not need a degree. You do not need some fancy schmancy certification. If you have a passion for something and you dig in and learn, you can be absolutely an expert. So how about this one? Why is SEO so important for small businesses?
Yeah, I love SEO because a lot of times you're reaching people when they are ready to purchase something. So, if you're on Instagram and I have over 1,000 followers, and not all of those 1,000 followers are ever going to hire me or purchase products or things like that. A lot of them will follow me for my tips or for my photos of my dog, but they're not necessarily going to turn into customers. Some of them will. But definitely not all of them. So a lot of times with SEO, when someone is ready to purchase something, think about the last time you're like searching for a product, or if you're searching for, a website designer specifically for your industry, you're much more in the mindset to be, ready to invest in something. So that's where SEO is, really valuable for reaching those people who are, more ready to invest than maybe someone who follows you on like Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah. And you know why that's so good? Because I'm always very open about this. I don't like social. I love meeting amazing women like you, but I don't like the baloney that comes along with it, like the algorithm changes and trying to please the AI and whatever. So this idea that you put yourself out there, it's forever available, and the right people will find you as opposed to us. There's too many people out there desperately trying to find clients. And I tell my clients, you should be in demand. How do you create demand? Use your brain, put great thoughts out there, great content, and serve a particular segment of the market. And so that's why I love SEO, and especially using Pinterest to be found, because Yeah, that's the way that the right people can find you. I don't ever want to chase people down, and I don't want my clients to either. It doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah, it's not fun. And it just takes up so much time and energy.
Right, right. Okay, well, I'm embarrassed to ask this next question because I don't know what it is, but you sent me this question and I meant to ask this before we got on. And it says, how does SEO and UX, I don't even know what that means, can help with client conversions? What in the world is UX? I feel stupid.
So,
I should do this.
Yeah, that's okay. UX is an abbreviation of user experience. So basically how user-friendly your site is. So yeah, I've been focusing a lot more on user experience in my, business and services in the past, like probably year and a half, I think, because I've seen what a big impact it can have. So there are lots and lots of different elements of user experience that overlap with SEO. So one thing that I see a lot is site speed. So if your site is really slow, that means that, people may leave your site, as soon as they get to it because it won't load, or, they might not go to visit as many pages because it takes forever for all of the pages to load. So there are lots and lots of different elements of user experience that also overlap with SEO and also with converting clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So let's get down to the brass tacks here. Some basic SEO strategies. And like, I know these concepts and I've heard them before, but I'm looking forward to going in, like keyword research and tags and meta descriptions. Can you kind of lay the foundation for us to build our knowledge of SEO that will actually make a difference in the business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so keywords is a big one. It's kind of a good starting point, but a lot of people kind of like stop it there, and there's so much more to SEO. But keyword research is definitely what I recommend starting with, because this is going to show you what you are able to rank for, what people are searching for, how competitive keywords are. So if you're doing keyword research and you find that actually no one is searching for that particular keyword, then you're not really going to get traffic for it. Or if you find a keyword that is incredibly, competitive and like Forbes and Wikipedia are ranking for it, like you're really not going to be able to rank for it. So it's not really worth targeting.
Okay, can you give an example before we move on? Because I know for me, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But like, for example, where do we do this keyword research? Mm-hmm. Can we start there? I'm sorry. I really would love
that's okay.
to go to the basics here.
Yeah. So the first place you can kind of like get familiar with keyword research is just in Google itself. So you can, type in phrases, and then as you are typing things in, Google will auto-populate with like other suggestions of what other people have searched before. That isn't going to show you, how many people have searched for it or like what the competition is, but you can kind of get an idea of what people are searching for. And then when you search for something, you can see like if it's a, major website ranking in the #1 spot that you're not going to be able to beat. So once you want to kind of like start moving into more keyword research tools, there are some free ones. I know one that's pretty good to start with is Ubersuggest. It's run by Neil Patel.
Okay, yep. Mm-hmm. Is that ubersuggest.com then? Is that?
I think so.
Okay.
If you just Google it, it'll come up.
Yep.
One that I like to use that's pretty low cost is Key Search. So the like key and then search. So these are going to tell you, the monthly search volume, the competition score and things like that. If you want to get more advanced, there's some more kind of like expensive ones, Moz, SEMrush, those are some major ones. Those are going to also give you a lot more data outside of like keyword research. So if you really want to start diving into SEO and backlinks and everything, those are pretty good investments, but you definitely don't need to, start with a major SEO tool if you're just getting started with SEO.
Okay, awesome. So Ubersuggest or Key Search. Okay, beautiful. That's good. That helps me to understand. And then when we look at rankings, can you explain that just a little bit more? So if I put in, for example, Christian women or Christian business coach for women, if I were to put that in, like, help me to visualize. I know this is a podcast, so it's hard to do, but like what will I see, or what should I be looking for if I wanted to rank for that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you'll want to look for, it's called the monthly search volume. So that's a number between like, 0 and probably a couple million. So those are the number of searches, per month. So, for something huge like business, that probably gets millions of searches every month. Something that's much more specific, like, Christian business coach, that probably gets, I don't know, off the top of my head, probably at least a couple dozen to maybe a couple hundred. I don't, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not looking at the data right now.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Yep. So you don't typically, if you're a smaller business, you don't need to be targeting keywords that have, millions of searches, especially because those are much more likely to be more competitive anyway. But just think about how many people you are actually able to serve. If you, all of a sudden got 5 million people to your website in one day, first of all, your website might crash if it's not built for that. But you're also not going to be able to serve, even half of those people, most likely, depending on what your business is. So I recommend, anywhere from like even, 20 to 500 searches per month is a good place to start. Again, it depends on your industry. If you're selling products, like that might be a little bit too low, depending on how many products you're trying to sell and the price point of those, everything. So that's the monthly search volume. And then the competition score is, what the competition is that's ranking for it, how likely, you'll be able to beat that competition. Most keyword research tools will show you what the top ranking websites are. So then you can see if it's like something, major like Forbes, Business Insider, whatever those websites are, or if it's a lot of more like smaller business websites that maybe you do have the potential of, competing with. So the competition score is from 0, though I've never seen 0, up to like 100. So anything above 50, I don't recommend targeting unless you are a huge website and you are able to be that competitive. But if you're just getting started with SEO, that's going to be really competitive. Anything below 30 is really good to target. 30 to 40 is pretty good. And then like 40 to 50 starts getting, more competitive. And most keyword research tools will kind of like have a color code. So typically from like 20 to 30 is like, quote, green. So it's like, that's good. 50 and above is red. So that's, really hard. So they kind of try to make it easy for you to kind of like figure out how, competitive things are. Okay.
And let's break it down to the practical. And I so appreciate you allowing me to interrupt you so that, because I'm thinking, this helps us to, I think, fully make sure we're on the same target because we don't know what you know. So, okay. So the keyword research is important in terms of if we're writing a blog post, or for me, the podcasting, to know kind of what title to put or what words to put in the description.
Yeah, so it's important for, everything with your website. So your website pages, definitely blog posts, any other content that you're putting on your website, your products, that kind of thing. So once you have a good, keyword in mind, so if it's, Christian business coach for women, or, whatever variation you find is good, then I recommend, something for that's likely going to be for your website pages, because that describes, who you are and what your services are. If it's something like, business tips for Christian women, that, kind of sounds more like a blog post kind of keyword. So for your website pages and for blog posts, you want to make sure that you are incorporating the keyword. It's in your title tag and meta description. So these are the things that are going to show on Google when you're searching for something. So no matter what you search for, you'll see like the title of the website, and then you'll see like a couple sentences below. That's the meta description, and then that's the title tag. So those are important because the title tag is a ranking factor for Google. So Google will take what you write into the title tag as as a ranking factor. The meta description actually isn't a ranking factor, but it is important because if you use your keyword, or at least part of the keyword, in the meta description and someone searches for that, those words will be bolded in the meta description. And also the meta description is where you really get to stand out from the competition, try to sell who you are, try to get, people to click on your website. If you just leave it blank or really boring, like read my blog post, like that doesn't compel anyone to, want to click on your website. So use your keyword in the title tag and meta description. And then also once, depending on it's a website page or your blog post, use it within your website copy and your blog post content. Typically a good thing to target is 1 to 5% of the words in that content is what you want to use your keyword with.
Okay. Your dog's excited about this.
I know. She always knows when I'm on video and she has to come say hi.
Okay, good. So that gives us a great overview. So let's talk about this. At what point do we need to optimize the website? Like right from the get-go, we need to make sure we're set up, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is a little tricky. I would say it kind of depends on where you are in your business. You do need to, I definitely recommend having the basics set up. So like connecting Google Analytics and, Google Search Console, which I'm sure we'll get into later, all the data. So that way you can track that information no matter where you are in business. It's important to have that data. If you are kind of just like, just getting your feet wet in business, you'll probably change your services in like 6 months, but you're just kind of testing things out. You really don't need like a, giant website with, targeting different keywords and things like that, because that could change in 6 months. So you don't want to like, do a bunch of work and then like completely change your business and target different keywords. My first year in business, I completely changed what I was doing. So, it happens to a lot of people. Yeah, if you are, more established in your business, or, for sure 100% this is what you're doing, I definitely think it's a good idea to optimize your website, especially if you're like investing in website design or, copywriter or a mix of those. You want to make sure you're definitely getting the most bang for your buck. So you're, making a big investment in your business. You want to make sure that not only do you have a really pretty website, but you're also getting clients to come to that website and, see your work and everything.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so let's get back to this data. How do we track the data to see how whatever our site is, whether it's a blog or the website itself, to see how it's actually performing?
Yeah, so there are 2 tools that I recommend. They're totally free: Google Analytics and Google Search Console. I have blog posts on both of these. I know it's kind of like hard to visualize data that you've maybe never seen. So if you need visuals, I do have blog posts that cover these. Google Analytics tracks absolutely everything on your website. They track where people are coming from. So no matter if that is Google, Facebook, your email list, they'll tell you how long people are staying on your site, how many pages they're visiting, which city or country they're coming from, which pages they go to. So just tons and tons and tons of data, and it's totally free, which is amazing. So this is really important to show you, maybe if people are only staying on your site for like 10 seconds, that might mean that your site maybe is really slow, or maybe, if a bunch of people are coming from Google, maybe what you're targeting isn't matching what they're actually searching for. Or, if you're getting a bunch of people from like Facebook and they're only staying on your site for 10 seconds, then maybe like Facebook isn't the best, way to be promoting your business, and maybe you need to try another platform. So there are lots of, data on Google Analytics to help you make a variety of decisions in your business. It's not all about SEO. And then Google Search Console is just basically SEO. It's similar to Google Analytics, but it only tracks data for people coming from Google. So it's just like a much more pared down version of Google Analytics. It's going to show you how many people are coming from Google, which keywords brought them to your site, which is very valuable. So you can see, this is where you can track to see, which keywords you're targeting and how they're performing. You can check to see how your rankings are improving for each keyword, like every week, every month. You can also see how many people are seeing your site ranking on Google but aren't clicking through. Those are called impressions. If you're seeing, I've seen someone once, she had like 16,000 impressions per one click. So that meant that what people were searching for was not matching what her website was about. So Google is pretty smart, but sometimes they're not, the smartest. And like, there are some, words and phrases, like if you think of Apple, it could mean like a physical apple that you eat, or it could be the company Apple. So sometimes Google isn't the smartest with like, understanding what the searcher is intending behind their search. So if you're seeing a big, difference in that, it could mean that you're not targeting the right keyword to match what people are searching for. So, you may need to reevaluate that.
Okay. Wow. That is so good. A weird thought just came up. Oh, by the way, before we get off of that, I will have the link in the show notes to all of these things that Julia is talking about, all these places. So, if you're like, what did she say? Don't worry. Just check the show notes. Including the links to your blog. I'd love for you to send me those so that I can read that. That would be great. So I had a thought. We talked about blogs and the web copy. I assume the same thing applies for your YouTube. Like these same things we've been talking about are very important when we're doing our description for our videos on YouTube, right?
Yeah. So YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, and it's owned by Google. So there is a lot of overlap with, finding keywords and things like that. I will say I'm not a YouTube SEO expert, so I don't really know of any keyword research tools specifically for SEO or for YouTube. But yeah, it's definitely very important for getting your videos to rank and everything.
Right. Okay, here's another crazy question. I'm sorry to go off script, but I'm thinking of it. Like when my team or whoever does it, uploads my podcast episodes to Libsyn, and then that gets sent all over the world, all these different podcast platforms and things. Is SEO, does it show up there? I assume it does.
Yeah, so podcasts can definitely rank on Google. So yeah, having things like your show notes filled out is really important if you want them to be ranking on Google.
Okay.
I'll say it won't necessarily benefit your website to have your podcast rank or something like that. So I recommend, if you're able to repurpose your podcast content on your website in some form. So that way you're putting that content specifically on your website. You're giving, Google new content to index and, rank that content. You can target new keywords, things like that. So if you prefer podcasts to blogging, which I know a lot of people hate blogging, but you can definitely get the transcript of your podcast and kind of transform that into a blog. So you don't have to be, writing blogs from scratch.
That's so good. I love to write, but for some reason, I just find it easier to just talk. Yeah. So yes, I definitely prefer podcasting to writing. I don't know why, but this is so good. All right. So how can we check our site for technical errors, like issues in the background that we may not even know about that could be affecting our rankings?
Yeah, so this is where Google Search Console is also very helpful because it will show you how Google is reading your site. So it'll tell you if there are any errors. So if you're on Google Search Console, and if you don't have it set up right now, I do cover this in blog posts, so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. There's a tab called Coverage, and then you'll be able to see any errors in red, or there's also another tab where things are excluded. So a lot of people kind of forget to check that because it's not a big red error that's in your face. But excluded is where you're going to find things like 404 errors, which are broken links, things that haven't been redirected and that kind of thing. So you definitely want to check for those errors to make sure you set up redirects. So it doesn't look to Google like you have a bunch of broken links that can, kind of affect your rankings. Also, I have to say, in the past week, I have clicked on 3 Instagram ads that have led to 404 error pages. So this is not just an SEO thing. This is also, big on user experience and for your ads, for things that you have on social media. You have something that you've taken off your website, make sure you have a redirect so that way you don't have an old ad running that you don't know about, or a link on Pinterest and then someone goes there and it's a 404 page and they can't find what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. Yeah.
I know. I'm I can't believe in just the past week alone, that's never happened to me before, but yeah. So make sure you're looking for things like 404 error pages. Another big one is pages that aren't able to be indexed by Google. I will say for this, these aren't always bad errors. You do want to make sure that any pages that you do want to ranking on Google to make sure they're able to be indexed, but a lot of things like your privacy policy, terms and conditions, if you've set up a page, specifically for Instagram, a Linktree page on your website that just has buttons and things, that does not need to rank on Google. I have also purposely set pages like my call calendar to no index, so that way someone random on Google just doesn't find my calendar and book a call with me and I don't know who they are. So things like that, they aren't necessarily, errors or bad errors. It just means Google can't, read that page and rank it. So again, if there's any pages, if your homepage for some reason is not able to be indexed, you definitely want to get that indexed So, check your homepage, make sure there aren't any no index code on there that could be blocking it. I also worked with someone about a year ago. She had her shop set up on WordPress. And for some reason, the default for adding new products was to mark all of the products as no index. So none of her products were ranking. Yeah.
That is sick.
Little things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right. So before we get to this amazing freebie that you're offering my listeners, is there anything in this whole SEO world that we didn't get to that you think is important to mention now before we wrap up?
Yeah, so
we said a lot already in
I know
25 minutes, but I just wanted to see what else we may have missed.
Yeah, I know. It's in SEO. I mean, this isn't even just like all of SEO. One thing I'll say for user experience, so back to like things like site speed are really important, but I also want to emphasize making sure that your site is accessible and really easy to navigate. So I see that I've been seeing this more and more the past year where it looks, really pretty to have like really small font, but that is really hard even for someone like average like me. So your font should be at least like 15, 16 pixels at the minimum. Mobile you can get away with like a little bit smaller, but like 10 pixels on a desktop is like way too small. So that's hard enough for, someone like me, but anyone who may have visual impairments, that's like really hard for them to read. Yeah.
Us older folks.
Yeah. So it's about accessibility, but also like, if I can't read something, I'm not going to like hunt for things on your website or try really hard. I'm just going to leave your website because I can't read it. So also make sure that things in your menu are clear and also the font is big enough. This is something else I'm seeing where menus have really small font for some reason, but if someone has to search for what they want to find and they can't find it very easily, that could impact them going to visit more pages. So all of this kind of goes back to like making sure you're not only reaching the right people, but once they're on your website, make sure you're able to convert them. Because if they have a really hard time, reading things, navigating your website, you're likely not going to convert them very easily. Also things like making sure that you have clear calls to action, like, physical buttons on your website. Don't just like hyperlink some small text because that's not going to, no one's going to click on that. So, you can lead people around to like contact you, to, visit your services pages, things like that. Try to think of the journey that you want to take them on in order for them to, want to connect with you, want to reach out for your services, or, if you sell products, make sure you have things like suggested products on your homepage, or like on a product page, have like related products. So that way, if what they're looking at isn't quite what they want, but you have something that they might be interested in, they can find it very easily.
Oh, so good. Oh my goodness. This is so good. Thank you so much, Julia.
Yeah.
Well, tell our listeners about this amazing opt-in about client conversion.
Yeah. So if you are interested in more of the user experience, getting more people to convert on your website, I have a freebie on how to reach and convert clients using SEO. It also includes videos with Google Analytics and Google Search Console. So if you are not, aren't familiar with this data at all, and that just sounds like really complicated, I promise it's not that hard. So I have videos walking you through the data that you should be checking and what everything means.
Wow, that's amazing. Julia, thank you so much. This has been so good. And I know I'm going to listen back again a couple of times, and I'm definitely getting your opt-in. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure thing. Ladies, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. And if you have, would you please pause even right now and take a moment and leave a rating and a review? It means so much. And it helps us in the rankings and helps to push this podcast out to the women like you who need to hear it. So once again, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.